My name is Kathy Sheard, and I am 32 years old. 3 days before my sister's wedding, my phone lit up with a message that snapped something loose in me. Still missing the last two gifts. Don't bother showing up without them. No, hey. No, thank you for everything you've already done. Just orders, like I was her personal wedding concierge who'd fallen behind schedule. Before I could even finish rereading it, my screen flashed again. Mom. I stared at her name for a second, already knowing this wouldn't be a gentle check-in. I answered anyway. Her voice came through sharp, cold, like she'd been rehearsing. If you were real family, Kathy, you'd complete the list. That was it. No hello. No, how are you holding up? 6 months of planning, paying, fixing, boiled down to a test of whether I would buy two more things. I didn't argue, I didn't explain, I didn't cry. I said nothing. It was so quiet in my apartment that I could hear my own breathing. The kind of quiet where your brain stops making excuses for other people and just sees. I realized, in that stillness, that I'd been taken for a ride for a very long time, and the only person who seemed surprised was me. 6 months earlier, being the helpful sister felt normal. Kat, we're so excited, my sister Emily had said, voice bubbling through the phone. We found the perfect place, but the deposit is due fast, and you know how Dad is with big payments. I didn't even let her finish. I'll handle it, I said, and I did. I covered the venue without hesitation, paid the full deposit on my credit card, arranged the catering, even booked a 2-week honeymoon to Hawaii as a surprise gift. Flights, resort, excursions, everything. Kat, this is a lot, my boyfriend Daniel had murmured one night, watching me scroll through honeymoon packages and spreadsheets. You sure they're not taking advantage? I'd laughed it off back then. It's my sister's wedding. This is what family does. I helped choose the invitations. I paid for the photographer when their friend with a camera bailed. I took calls they didn't bother to return. I kept receipts, but I didn't keep score. The score kept itself. Then came the list. Emily sent it to me as a pretty little graphic, all pastel colors and fonts. Wedding gift, wish list. 10 items. The first 5 were normal. Espresso machine, vacuum, matching robes, fancy wine set, customized glassware. Within a week, all of those were bought and scheduled for delivery. Then I scrolled down to the last 2 items. Rolex. New car. No joke. No, just an idea. No price cap. Just a luxury watch and a whole vehicle thrown on a wish list like kitchen towels. I stared at my phone, waiting for my brain to label it a mistake. It didn't. I called her. Hey, Emily answered, breezy, distracted. I could hear clinking glasses. Did you see the list? Isn't it aesthetic? About the last 2 items, I said slowly. The Rolex and the car. That has to be a joke, right? A beat of silence. It's not a joke, she said. A luxury watch and a car will elevate the aesthetic. People notice those things. I'm not buying you a car or a Rolex. She sighed hard. Well, then I hope the venue is refundable. The words slid right past me then. I didn't yell. I didn't defend myself. I just noted it. 2 weeks before the wedding, at a small family get-together with both families present, Emily gave a toast. I just want to thank Mark's parents, she said brightly, for making all of this possible. People clapped. Groom's mom wiped a tear. Not a word about me. Not about the venue I paid for. Not about the photographer or the catering arrangements. Not about the Hawaii trip booked under my name. Daniel brushed my hand. You okay? He whispered. Fine, I lied. Afterward, Emily pulled me aside near the cake table. So, she whispered, any update on the car? No, I said. The answer is still no. She blinked, offended. Mark joined us, looping an arm around her waist. What's going on? Kathy doesn't want to help with the last 2 gifts, Emily said loudly. Mark laughed. Loud. Performative. Kind of wild that you work in IT and can't swing a car and a Rolex. What's the point of tech money then? People laughed with him. I didn't. That's my money, I said evenly, not yours. That night, back in my apartment, the silence felt heavy. Daniel was still at work, and it was just me and the glow of my laptop. I opened the venue contract, read it once, twice. Then, I canceled it. The venue kept the $2,000 deposit, my parting gift. I paused the catering payments, canceled every remaining order tied to the wedding. Then I typed a message to Emily. Venue and catering are no longer covered. You'll need to make other arrangements. I pressed send, saw the typing bubble flicker, turned my phone off. The room was dark and quiet, and I realized something. The version of me they depended on, The fixer, the wallet, the quiet yes machine had died. None of them knew it yet. The next morning, when I finally turned my phone back on, it lit up like I detonated a bomb under the family tree. 29 missed calls. Voicemails loaded one after another. The first was my sister, Emily, screaming, not crying, screaming. Doors slammed in the background, someone yelling her name, another voice begging her to calm down. The second was my mother, her voice shaky, breathy, dramatic in a way I'd heard 1,000 times. Kathy, how could you do this? How could you betray your own sister? Do you understand what you've done? The third message was pure venom. You've ruined everything. Everything. I hope you're happy. After that, there were 3 seconds of silence, then a sharp click. I didn't respond, not one word. By noon, the missed calls climbed back up to 29. Texts stacked like a slot machine jackpot. The tone changed with each sender. Emily pleading, Mom raging, Dad being reasonable. Dad always tried to sound diplomatic when money was on the line. Kathy, he said in his voicemail, you've made your point. Now let's be reasonable. It's not too late to fix this. Fix what? Me not being an ATM? Still, I stayed quiet. My silence wasn't a strategy. It wasn't a tantrum. It was peace. For the first time in months, I felt truly, deeply still. But peace wasn't what they felt, because my cancellation didn't just ruin their wedding plans. It exposed something they'd been hiding, a lie. For months, the groom's side of the family, Mark's parents, his uncles, his cousins, believed they were paying for the wedding. Emily and Mark had told them that the extravagant venue, the catering, the honeymoon, all of it, was a generous gift from his parents. They wanted Mark's family to appear wealthy, generous, classy, and I had been their silent, convenient wallet in the background. The deception worked, until I pulled every dollar out from under them. When the venue emailed saying the reservation was canceled, when the caterer called asking for new payment information, when there wasn't a single backup plan, Mark's parents finally asked the question they should have asked months ago. Where did the money go? Someone, I still don't know who, told them the truth. It wasn't them, it wasn't the couple, it was me alone. By the afternoon, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was from Mark's mother. Kathy, I believe there has been a huge misunderstanding. Could we please talk? I didn't respond. A minute later, she sent another message, a screenshot of a full group chat. Messages exploded like fireworks. A cousin of Emily's dumped everything. My name was everywhere, circled, highlighted, forwarded. Mark's parents were furious, not at me, but at the lie they'd been fed. That evening, my Uncle Brian called, one of the few people in the family who never asked me for a dime. He didn't even say hello. It was going to happen eventually, he said. Honestly, I'm surprised it took you this long. I closed my eyes. What's happening now? They're scrambling. Groom's dad wants a full breakdown. Every dollar, every invoice. Emily's melting down. Mark's acting like he had no idea what was going on. Total chaos. He paused, then added, and you're not the villain anymore. You're the crack in their perfect picture. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Later that night, the tone of Emily's messages shifted like weather on a stormy coastline. First, guilt. I just wanted one perfect day, and you couldn't give me that. Then, desperation. You don't know what this means for me. Please, Kathy, please fix this. Then, anger. You're jealous. You always have been. You hate that I'm the favorite. By morning, reality finally settled in. Not just emotionally, but financially. Canceling the venue and catering would cost thousands. And suddenly, no one wanted to be stuck with the bill. That's when Mark's father stepped in. He agreed to replace every dollar I pulled. But only if Mark signed a loan. A real repayment plan. 3 months, no bailouts, no parental rescue. If Mark wanted a $60,000 wedding, he could pay for a $60,000 wedding. Mark signed, reluctantly. They had no choice. Flights were booked, guests were coming, and Emily refused to cancel the wedding. But the truth was out. Nothing could fix the damage. What surprised me most wasn't the chaos. It was how fast I stopped being family. The moment they realized I meant it, meant the boundary, meant the silence, meant the end of their free ride. I became a threat to the story they'd built. A problem, a disruption, an inconvenience. Even Mark's side began panicking. Cousins, bridesmaids, helpers started asking Emily questions she couldn't answer. Every time someone reached out to me, I said the same 5 words. I'm not involved anymore. And I wasn't. But that didn't mean I was done. Because I started thinking about what I'd already paid for. The honeymoon, booked under my name. The gifts, expensive, curated, unnecessary. So I picked up my phone, logged into the travel agency portal, and canceled the honeymoon. The agent asked if I wanted store credit. Credit? I said. No, I'll be taking the trip myself. Then I contacted every store where I'd ordered gifts, the espresso machine, vacuum, robes, glassware, and rerouted or canceled every order I could. What I couldn't refund, I resold. Within 48 hours, I recouped a large portion of my money. My mom left a voicemail dripping with shame and fury. Did you actually take the gifts back? Kathy, how could you humiliate us like this? A cousin texted, Wait, did you really? One-word reply, yes. The silence that followed, delicious. By the end of the week, they'd found a cheap replacement venue, the kind with foldable metal chairs, fairy lights purchased in bulk, and a catering menu full of beige food. I saw photos. Mark looked miserable. Emily looked tight-smiled, brittle, pretending everything was perfect. Instagram captions read, Small, intimate, exactly what we wanted. Everyone knew it wasn't. On their wedding morning at 9 a.m., while they scrambled with last-minute fixes, I slept in, made coffee, opened the window, and felt like I had dodged an execution. At 4 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from a coworker who was attending. They're talking about you. You're in the speech. My stomach dropped. I opened Facebook. A video had just been posted from the reception. The groom's uncle raised a glass, and the next words out of his mouth changed everything. None of this would have happened without Kathy. She paid for everything, and she only pulled out after being disrespected. Silence. A few claps. Emily's face off to the side, frozen. The truth was now public, whether they liked it or not. The video kept playing, shaky and dim from someone's phone, but I could see everything clearly. The groom's uncle, David, wasn't a dramatic man. His voice wasn't booming. He wasn't the type to cause scenes. And that's what made every word heavier. None of this would have happened without Kathy Sherd. She paid for everything. And she only pulled out after being disrespected. So tonight, we toast to integrity. We toast to her, to Kathy. He raised his glass. A few people clapped. A few glanced awkwardly around. Most sat frozen, unsure whether to follow his lead or pretend he hadn't just detonated a truth bomb in the middle of the reception. In the corner of the frame, I saw Emily's face, pale, furious, humiliated. She pushed back her chair so hard it wobbled, then she turned and stormed out of the camera's view. The groom followed half a step behind, whisper-yelling something at her. The video ended. My coworker sent another text. Your sister just walked out, LOL. I didn't reply. I was too stunned and too tired. The next morning, another message arrived. This time, not from a guest, but from the honeymoon resort. An email. Dear Ms. Sherd, we wanted to notify you that a couple attempted to check in yesterday under your reservation. However, the reservation was canceled by you several weeks ago. As requested, a new booking under your name begins next month. I sat back slowly. So Emily and her new husband had shown up early, expecting a free luxury honeymoon, only to learn the trip didn't exist anymore. I imagined the scene. Emily at the front desk, demanding a room under my name, expecting to bask in the sunshine I'd paid for. The staff politely telling her the reservation had been canceled, her voice rising, her new husband getting frustrated, embarrassed. A part of me felt guilty. A bigger part didn't. I forwarded the email to Daniel. His reply appeared 10 seconds later. Good, they earned that. Later that afternoon, my phone pinged again. Cousin Rachel. Rachel was the one person on Emily's side who had never joined the entitlement circus. She texted, Not everyone bought their act. You weren't crazy. And then, a video. It was filmed at the post-wedding brunch at my parents' house. A backyard setup with folding tables, paper plates, and the kind of fake laughter people use when the truth is too loud to ignore. Emily, in a wrinkled white sundress, played the exhausted bride card. Honestly, she said dramatically to the group, it's better Kathy wasn't involved. She's too intense. You all know how she gets. Some people nodded, some looked away. But one man, I didn't recognize him, set down his fork and said, If Kathy hadn't been involved, there wouldn't have been a wedding at all. The entire table went silent. He continued, calm but cutting. Funny how the person who funded everything was erased the minute she stopped paying. Makes me wonder what else was rewritten. In the video, Emily stiffened, her jaw tightening. My mother forced a smile so strained it looked painful. My father looked down at his plate. Someone changed the topic, but the damage was done. That evening, I got a message from an unfamiliar number. Uncle David, the man who'd given the toast. You probably don't want to hear from anyone right now, but I meant every word, and so did others. We ended up talking for nearly half an hour. He told me that after the wedding, several relatives confronted Mark and Emily, asked why they let me shoulder the blame, asked why they told everyone Mark's parents were paying, asked why they hid the truth. But what shocked me most was what came next. After we talked, David said, Mark's dad decided something. That loan repayment, he's enforcing it, starting immediately. I blinked. What? No delays, no extensions. And they cut him off from the family fund, completely. Why? Because when they learned the truth, the whole truth, they felt humiliated. Not by you, by their own son, and by your sister. A strange feeling washed over me. Not victory, not satisfaction. Just clarity. For once, the consequences landed on the right people. Of course, my mother wasn't done. She called Mark's parents, trying to defend Emily. Kathy's unstable, she said. She overreacts, she always had. But the call didn't go the way she hoped. Mark's parents told her plainly, we stand by Kathy. Maybe if you had, none of this would have happened. My mother didn't mention that call to me, but I didn't need her to. People talk. And suddenly the family who always insisted I was too sensitive was being told, by outsiders, that they had created this mess. Over the next few days, the quiet truth spread in all the places polite families pretend not to gossip. A groomsman I'd never met messaged, if it were me, I'd have burned the whole thing down. A distant cousin said she returned her wedding gift. Couldn't stand watching Emily play the victim. Guests whispered behind the scenes. Vendors compared notes. Nobody said anything publicly. That would ruin the perfect image Emily was still trying to salvage online. But privately, everything had shifted. I wasn't the one who ruined the wedding. I was the one who stopped being used. 2 weeks later, my mom called me. Not to apologize, not to reflect, not to take accountability. She needed help with an insurance form. I'll bring it by, she said. I helped her, then I changed my number. A day later, my dad emailed something vague about family healing with time. But I knew what he meant. He wasn't talking to me. He was talking to the version of me they preferred. The soft-spoken, endlessly helpful daughter who never said no. That version didn't exist anymore. I started therapy. For the first time in my life, I said things out loud. How I thought being useful was the only way to be loved. How saying no felt like betrayal. How I kept waiting, hoping, for someone in my family to notice everything I carried. Nobody ever did. My therapist asked me what I wanted now, and the answer came easily. Peace. A month later, I used the honeymoon credit I'd converted and booked the trip for myself. Solo Hawaii. No itinerary, no phone, no emergencies to fix. I hiked at sunrise. I sat on beaches I'd only ever seen in travel ads. I ate what I wanted. I slept without nightmares. And I didn't think about the wedding once. Not until the last night, sitting alone on the sand as the waves curled in and the sky burned gold. It hit me slowly, softly. I didn't just lose a sister. I lost an illusion. The illusion that if I gave enough, sacrificed enough, funded enough, they would finally see me, value me, choose me. They never did. And that wasn't my failure. That was their limitation. What I gained instead? Freedom, boundaries, a life where no is a full sentence, a life where the people around me actually wait for my answer, a life where saying yes feels like a gift, not an obligation. My parents still message sometimes, only when they need something. Sometimes I respond, sometimes I don't. Depends on the day. Emily hasn't said a single word since the wedding. And honestly, that silence is the most genuine thing she has ever given me.